Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Time. I apologize for the buffering. I'll see if I can figure out what's causing that. That's a mystery to me. We've been getting that recently, so I think that's just going to take a deeper dive. Having said that, welcome to where we stand. Somebody made a complete valid criticism. Isn't this a news show? News and punditry, but yeah. And is our opinion on Trump really fair? Well, as somebody who's been called unreasonably reasonable most of his life and who has always seen both sides to everything almost compulsively, so I will say there is two sides to this. Absolutely. There's right and wrong. We know that Trump lost the election. We know that. There is absolutely no evidence of election tampering, at least none that would even remotely have impacted the election. We know that he brought 61 lawsuits and lost 60 of them, and the one remaining one was a tiny matter that had nothing to do with any of the major claims that he's ever made. Independent courts with judges that were appointed by Trump himself found no evidence of tampering. His own Justice Department, mostly appointed by people that he appointed himself, including his own head law enforcement officer, the Barr, all found that there was no evidence of any election tampering. And when one of his loudest spokesmen, Rudy Giuliani, was asked in court, "Sir, do you have any evidence of election tampering?" he said, "No, just speculation and theories." And it hasn't improved. And his own supporters have said, and by supporters, I mean politicians, statesmen, members of, what was it? I think it was the Arizona Speaker of the House, said, "I kind of need that evidence. I'm happy to back you. I have no doubt it's true, but I need the evidence to give to my constituents." And Trump said, "Don't worry, tomorrow." And it was a great many tomorrows before he finally gave up waiting for that evidence. We know that Trump abducted people off of the streets of Portland without any due process whatsoever in a move reminiscent of Augusto Pinochet. We know he's expressed admiration for people like Hitler, certainly for Kim Jong-un, one of the most evil motherfuckers ever to have lived. He's expressed admiration for Putin, who also falls into that category, notwithstanding the fact that aside from the fact that he's attempting to commit genocide, as we've discussed before, he has murdered people with his own bare hands more than once. He was an assassin for the KGB. These are all facts. I don't know when suddenly there came another side than right and wrong, with Trump decidedly in the wrong one, but between January 6th and any number of other elements in which he clearly was trying to overthrow the legitimately elected Biden, whether you like Biden or not. Yes, I think we have a pretty good handle on who he is, and I think our messaging today is very much appropriate. A number of interesting things have happened regarding Trump. Now, we're going to be airing a quote special announcement that he has said he is going to make. We believe that it is, in fact, he's going to announce his candidacy. This would be his third run for office. He will be running for a second term. Those are almost another term, no matter what they do, because the problem is now you have to go through an entire election process again. The incumbent always has an advantage. Trump cannot run as an incumbent ever again. Presumably, please do not mistake this for me saying I don't think he's going to find a way to try, but he's not permitted to. So, just like Mike Pence, for example, was not permitted to throw out all of the votes that Trump said he was. One of my biggest complaints about Trump is he truly believes that the laws do not apply to him. That the laws just don't apply to him, and that simply isn't true. And if a single Democratic president ever started acting that way, the people who would be most up in arms calling for revolution would be the Republicans. So I guess that's where we are. This is not a particularly flattering picture of him. We're having a hard time finding a reliable stream that we could connect to And the only one that we could find was Fox. That's not entirely surprising. But that's not particularly flattering. I don't think it's terrible, but considering the images that they've shown in the past and this kind of almost godlike messianic imagery in the past, I've got to tell you, that's a rather poor image. Why? It's not an accident. They don't make accidents like that. Well, the why is any number of reasons. We've learned recently that Rupert Murdoch has essentially withdrawn his support for Trump, and quite completely, and he's told Trump that he has withdrawn it. He told, The Guardian is reporting that Rupert Murdoch has warned Trump that his media empire will not back any attempt by Trump to go back to the White House, and that he will instead be supporting Ron DeSantis. He has also said that if Ron DeSantis either does not run or there are no good candidates, he will vote for a Democrat before he votes for Trump. That is a staggering statement from the owner of Fox News. We also have seen headlines, the Humpty Dumpty headline on one of the which one was it? I want to say the Post. Was it the New York Post? Compared him to Humpty Dumpty. It was rather unflattering, and said that he would not be able, he hadn't built the wall, and could the party be put back together again? So already Murdoch's papers are giving Trump a rather hard time. I suspect, and we've heard a lot of blowback about the idea of him even running, because it's going to tank the chances for a lot of down ticket races. So nobody wants him to do this. What you may or may not recall, he was blackmailed into this. He wanted to announce the day after he lost, and the RNC said that they would stop financing all of his legal fees if he did not wait until after the midterms. And so he waited. It's now after the midterms. We don't know for certain. There hasn't been a press release. We do know that Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, has come out and said that America needs to find hope again, and that's what we're going to find in this announcement. So we're waiting. We're now about 2 minutes out. While we wait, I will also play another video that aired a short while ago about Trump's difficulties and him being silenced and having his First Amendment rights stripped from him. Let's listen.
I think we've seen those games throughout the 2020 campaign. They don't think that they don't want the American people to hear directly from, the biggest leader of the greatest political movement in our history. So I do suspect they'll try to, censor and cut away. However, the people are anxious to hear from him, so they will go right around the major networks if they do indeed cut away. They'll go to Real America's Voice, they'll go to RSBN, they'll go to OAN, so many other independent media, because that's what you have to do now. I mean, we do not have the First Amendment. It's under attack.
So there you have it. Donald Trump's First Amendment rights are, I guess, under attack. Trump, of all people, should have some idea what exactly the First Amendment is. He successfully argued when he was sued by the winner of the Miss America pageant. She had come out, if I recall, it was transphobic comments that she had come out with, and she was kicked out of Miss America. She attempted to sue Trump and Miss America for suing her, for kicking her out based on the fact that they had violated her First Amendment rights and she could talk about whatever she wanted to. Well, it is true she could talk about whatever she wanted to, but she had entered into a contractual relationship with the Miss Universe pageant and violated that. And you can still give up your rights when you enter into a contract. That's usually how it works. I have a right to stay at home and do nothing all day. But I give up some of that right and some of my time to a business that pays me, usually hourly, for that time. And then once I'm working for them, I could sit there and say, well, I've got a right to be paid, or I've got a right to work for them, and stop going. But they've got a right to fire me because I signed a contract. The First Amendment also only applies to the government not being able to censor people. It does not state that ABC, NBC, CNN, or any private news organization has to platform absolutely anybody. And I suspect that they have some idea of these things and are either using it colloquially or whatever they're using. But Donald Trump's First Amendment rights are not under attack by anybody. It's hysteria, and it works. It works. These are common tactics that we've seen people use. We've seen demagogues use, but we've seen even people who aren't demagogues use them quite successfully to garner attention, and that's what we're seeing now. It is utter horse shit. At any rate, let's, there we are waiting. I regret that we're going to have to piggyback this off of Fox, but it's all we've got. We do have, I think, 2 super chats, which we sincerely appreciate it. We get demonetized quite regularly. We show serious content, and YouTube is not as much a fan of that as I would have thought. But at any rate, it really does help. $5. Aaron Colson, a third presidential bid or a fourth Reich. Oh, that's clever. That's clever. What do you think the likelihood of violence increases due to Trump's? Well, the likelihood of violence does increase. That's absolutely true. I think the party is starting to turn on him in a significant way. If Rupert Murdoch is turning and they want to go into DeSantis, at first they're going to want to do it quietly, and they'll make it clear that they will go public if they have to. He will ignore that. He's not a loser. He doesn't lose anything, so he'll go on anyway. And a rather large battle. I actually anticipate violence, Republican against Republican, before Republican against Democrat. I think that they will be more harsh and unforgiving of other Republicans who've turned their back on the MAGA cause than they will of the liberals who simply want to see America end, I guess. So, yeah, I think there's going to be violence. It's probably going to be them against each other. Sinister Porpoise, $2. Why the Emperor's March not send in the clowns? I probably should have. I probably should have been that. All right, he appears to be approaching the podium. Let me make sure I can get the sound on this.
Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of Melania, myself, and our entire family, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement and the greatest country in the history of the world. It's very simple. There has never been anything like it, this great movement of ours. Never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now. 2 years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige, towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before. There was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. When the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives and the U.S. economy. And by October of the same year, America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that? All Instead of jobs and factories
Holy
leaving
fuck.
America for China, they were for the first time ever leaving China for America. Businesses were pouring back because of our historic tax and regulation cuts, the biggest in both categories in history, bigger even than what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, and he produced a lot. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea were in check and respected. They respected the United States, and quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate, which no president was able to conquer, was decimated by me and our great warriors in less than 3 weeks, and al-Baghdadi, its founder, was hunted down and killed. North Korea had not launched. North Korea had, with Chairman Kim Jong-un, nearly 3 years before, we developed a relationship, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually, because look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president, there will never be a war within weeks. And we will have wars like you've never seen before. It will happen immediately. And yet, I've gone decades without a war, the first president to do it for that long a period. The world was at peace. America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future, because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my promises. I kept them. Thank you very much. Under our leadership, we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period of time. We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history and expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline prices lower just prior to the election. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence. There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border. The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes, which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see. The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something and even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again. But our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia, to Poland, 50 miles into Poland, and people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They are very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences, was held in contempt by the British Parliament over Afghanistan. Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment, of all things. They fly for days to get there, and then he calls the country a name that was actually a country on another continent. And he's leading us to the brink of nuclear war, a concept unimaginable just 2 short years ago. You cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating. The Green New Deal and the environment, which they say may affect us in 300 years, is all that is talked about. And yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you imagine? They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 200 to 300 years. But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot. Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before. But we are here tonight to declare that it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. Two years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America. Glory. Exactly 1 week ago, our citizens voted in the important midterm elections, and despite a ridiculously long and unnecessary period of waiting, far longer, in fact, than any third world country, just a short time ago, the Republicans won back control of the House of Representatives. And it was with a great Trump-endorsed candidate, Congressman-elect Kevin Kiley, who is a fantastic person, And I'm very happy it was his vote that did it. But we now won back. This happened just an hour ago. Much criticism is being placed on the fact that the Republican Party should have done better, and frankly, much of this blame is correct. But the citizens of our country have not yet realized the full extent and gravity of the pain our nation is going through, and the total effect of the suffering is just starting to take hold. They don't quite feel it yet, but they will very soon. I have no doubt that by 2024, it will sadly be much worse. and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country, and the voting will be much different. 2024. Are you getting ready? And I am too. I am too. I do want to point out that in the midterms, my endorsement success rate was 232 wins and only 22 losses. You don't hear that from the media. And this is an elegant night and an elegant place, and I'm not going to use the term fake news media. So we're going to keep it very elegant. But you don't hear that from the media, but I think you will, because people are starting to see what happened. That's some score, and in the primaries was 98.6%, but they were still trying to blame me. And the reason for the success and that unprecedented success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border. We're the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country. On Islamic terrorism, we had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration. And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries, including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham Accords. But it's because of cutting taxes and cutting regulations at the highest level ever, and on building the greatest economy. Any time in the history of the world, there's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate, we cannot lose hope, and we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States Senator. Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it. He was an incredible athlete. He'll be an even better senator. Get out and vote for Herschel Walker. We elected a group of incredibly talented America First leaders who will be stars of our party for many years to come. In the popular vote, another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes, that's a big thing. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been fired. Isn't that nice? I told them, I said, if you just keep a little bit lower standard, you're going to have a big victory. They said, let's win by 40 seats. Let's win by 50. I said, if you win by 2 seats, be happy. But she's on her way to another country right now. She's been fired. But we always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use, 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words, American dream. That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Thank you, kids. Thank you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime. Together we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent, for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their dignity. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth, we love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, were calling me. You wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible, like never before. And then COVID started coming in from China. We call it the China virus. Some people call it other things. But it was devastating, and we built it back and did an incredible job. But when people say Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives, I say we can all get together. And we were doing that. That was happening just prior, because the success was greater than this country has ever had. We were leapfrogging China and leapfrogging everybody else, and everybody wanted a piece of it. But just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history, because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not. In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place. We are Americans, and we do not have to endure what has taken place in Washington, D.C. This is our country, our government, and the corridors of power, they're our corridors. They're not their corridors. These are our corridors. And we are coming to take those Carters back. So from now until Election Day in 2024, which will come very quickly, we'll go, look at how time flies, look how fast it's all going. I will fight like no one has ever fought before. We will defeat the radical left Democrats that are trying to destroy our country from within, and likewise protect us all. We want to protect us. We have to be protected from all of those nations out there that are looking to destroy us from beyond our shores. There are lots of nations that hate us gravely. And that's the problem. When they look at us in disarray like we are right now, when we go to them begging for oil and we have more liquid gold under our feet than they have or any other nation has, and we don't use it because we're going to them, it's crazy what's happening. We can't let it continue. Joe Biden is the face of left-wing failure and Washington corruption. He had a big G20 dinner tonight. Everybody flew over to wherever they flew over, and guess what? He never showed up. They're still looking for him. What's going on? G20, I used to love that, the leaders. They used to make deals for our country like you wouldn't believe. It was one, give me the next one, give me the next one. And we got them to stop taking advantage of our country. Every nation took advantage of our country. We renegotiated deals with Mexico and Canada, USMCA. We got rid of the worst trade deal ever made. NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. That's why the farmers love Trump, because we did a great job, but manufacturers also. And we did a deal, we restructured our terrible deal with Japan, and I did it with Prime Minister Abe, a great man who unfortunately is so sad. He was a great friend of mine, but a great man, loved his country so much, but we restructured and made it a really terrific deal, and with South Korea and so many other countries. And the best of all was what we did to China. We made an incredible deal, but after COVID, I don't even bother talking about it because the devastation that caused for the entire world was too much to bear. I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years in 2020. Can't do it. Our country could not take that. And I say that not in laughter. I say that in tears. Our country could not take 4 more years. It can only take so much. It's all very fragile to start off with. It can only take so much. In 2020, I received the largest number of votes of any sitting president in history by a lot. And we will do it again, but with even more votes this time. Many have noted that huge gains we have made with Latino voters, and I believe we will set even greater records with this crucial vote in 2024. The Hispanic voter, the Latino voter has been unbelievable. Great people, very entrepreneurial people, and they want security. And everyone thought when I did the wall, I built the wall, and they thought, oh, that would hurt me with the Hispanic vote. No, it helped me because they understood. They wanted safety. They wanted security. And they understood the border better than anybody else. So they were amazed. We started that trend, and now we're continuing with that trend. You look at what we've done in Florida, what everybody's doing now in Florida and Texas, along the border in Texas, won every single community. I won every single community. Governor of Texas called. Great gentleman, just got reelected. And he said to me, I'd like to talk to you for a second. Well, he said, you've done something that nobody else has done. You've won every single area along the borders, the longest since Reconstruction. I said, Reconstruction? I guess you call that the Civil War? That's what I call it? That's what I call it. Governor Abbott, very good man, and he's working hard, but it's horrible because what's happening is they're just sending hundreds of thousands of people right through his state, right through Arizona, right through all of the states. What's happening is they're coming up all of the states. And we can't have it anymore. This campaign will be about issues, vision, and success, and we will not stop. We will not quit until we've achieved the highest goals and made our country greater than it has ever been before, and we can do that. We can do it. Our victory will be built upon big ideas, bold ambitions, and daring dreams for America's future. We need daring dreams. It is not enough merely to complain or oppose. We don't want to be critics. We don't want to be complainers. I never wanted to be a critic. I never respected critics. They tell people what's wrong, but they can't do it themselves. We will win because we will fight with every measure of our strength and with every ounce of our energy to lift up the working men and working women of America and to restore the fabric of this nation. The radical left Democrats have embraced an extreme ideology of government domination and control. Our approach is the opposite, one based on freedom, values, individual responsibility, and just plain common sense. It's common sense. In 2 years, the Biden administration has destroyed the U.S. economy, just destroyed it. With victory, we will again build the greatest economy ever. It will take place quickly. We will build the greatest economy ever. And if you remember, I did it twice. I did it before COVID and then handed off something where the stock market was higher than just prior to COVID coming in. And we did it twice, and we will do it again, but this time we'll do it bigger, stronger, better than anybody can even imagine. And one of the beautiful things of the pause, if there is such a thing as a beautiful thing, but one of the important factors of the pause is that we see how bad they've done. So we will be able to do it properly, and it will be much easier. Everybody will agree with us because everybody sees what a bad job has been done during this 2-year period, and it will be a 4-year period. Everybody sees that. It will be much easier for us to do what has to be done. We will immediately tackle inflation and bring down to a level that it was. You know, we were at 0, but actually the best number is 1%. Do you know that? You don't want it really 0. But we were at 0. We actually got it to exactly 1%, the perfect number. One thing every economist agrees, don't have it 0, have it like at 1%. They even say 1 to 2, but I said, let's do 1. And we had it at 1%, and we had it there for a long period of time, and we had the value of the dollar. We had it so that this country could make a lot of money, and I fought other countries where they devalued their dollar, or they devalued their currency, whether it was the pound, or whether it was the yuan, or the yen. And I used to fight like cats and dogs with the leaders of other countries because they were stealing from us. When they did that, they had artificial devaluations of their currency. It's a very important thing. I haven't even heard it mentioned in 2 years. That's a very important thing. It's very hard for us to compete when they do that artificially. And they had to pay a big price when they did it. And they never really did it for very long. I said, we're not going to do business with you anymore as a country. And they believed me. And they let it go back up. Instead of putting America last, as the Biden administration has done very, very openly and bravely, because I can't imagine saying, let's put America last. I think it takes courage. We will again put America first. Every policy. Thank you very much. We do love our country, isn't it? That's why we're here. I didn't need this. I had a very nice, easy life. This is something I didn't need, and a lot of you people don't need either, but we love our country, and we have to take care of our country. We have to save our country. Every policy must be geared toward that which supports the American worker, the American family, and businesses, both large and small, and allows our country to compete with other nations on a very level playing field, which we never had until I came along, and the Trump administration came along, and now we're losing it. They're moving back into China. They're moving back into these other countries. It's horrible. That means low taxes, low regulations, and fair trade, much of which I've already completed, but now will even greatly enhance. Other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into the American marketplace. They have to pay to come into our country and make all of that money, take it away from us. And thanks to the Trump administration, still the best and the biggest country in the world is what we have. We have the best and the biggest. If you remember, for many years, you can look in your projection books, China was going to take over from us as the largest economy in the world in 2018 or 2019. I said, I don't like that timing. And I was with President Xi, who's now president for life. I call him king. He said, no, I'm not the king. I said, yes, you are the king. You're president for life. It's the same thing. But I said, President, you can't do these things. You can't. Remember, they had China 25. That means China was going to take over virtually the whole world economy by 25. I said, that's not a nice sign. I don't want that sign. They took it down. They took down the whole slogan. Probably will be coming back at some point in the near future. But I found it very insulting. I said, I find that very insulting. On day one, we will end Joe Biden's war on American energy. And you will see, when that happens, you will see energy costs come down. And because energy is so big and so important, you will see inflation dropping. You will see it come down. It's a thing of beauty. And you wouldn't think it's that complicated. Now, what has been complicated a little bit is what's happened to so many other things. I believe originally started by this energy disaster. We were $1.87 a gallon for gasoline, and now it's hitting $5, $6, $7, and even $8, and it's going to go really bad. The socialist disaster known as the Green New Deal, which is destroying our country, and the many crippling regulations that it has spawned, will be immediately terminated so that our country can again breathe and grow and thrive like it should. It's very, very much hurting our country. Germany tried it, Germany tried it. They were up for about a year. Remember I sent to Angela. Remember Angela? Do you remember Angela? Nobody's remembering her now. Angela Merkel, I sent her a white flag of surrender. She said, but why do you send this to me, Donald? I said, Angela, I send it to you because this is a flag of surrender. You are getting 78% of your energy from Russia. And when that happens, history has proven that it's not good for Germany. Just take a look over the last 150 years. It hasn't been good. What I didn't know would take place so fast. And Germany closed, as you know, all of its coal-powered plants and its nuclear plants. They closed everything, and now they're building coal plants, and they're building them fast. And China's building a coal plant every week. Every week they open up another, and then they talk about all of the things that they do environmentally. They are watching us die with the Green New Deal, with our windmills and with our solar that doesn't have the power to fire up our great factories and our great plants. They are watching us die, and they're laughing as it happens. Remember, economic security is national security, and that's what it is. We need economic security. That is why we will launch an all-out campaign to eliminate America's dependence on China. We will bring our supply chains, which are a disaster right now. You can't get anything, and good luck getting a turkey for Thanksgiving. Number one, you won't get it, and if you do, you're going to pay 3 to 4 times more than you paid last year. But we will bring our supply chains and manufacturing base back home, as we were strongly doing during the Trump administration, and we will systematically bring back wealth, health, and success to the American middle class and to America itself. Please. Yeah, please sit down. I feel so guilty having you stand. No. No, you've been standing for the whole event. I feel very guilty. I don't want that to happen. To every worker and family struggling to survive in the Biden economy with inflation destroying your family and your life, this campaign will be for you. Help is on the way. Joe Biden has abolished America's borders. We are going to restore and secure America's borders just like we had them before, best ever. We built the wall, and now we will add to it. Now, we built the wall, we completed the wall, and then we said, let's do more, and we did a lot more. And as we were doing it, we had an election that came up. And when they came in, they had 3 more weeks to complete the additions to the wall, which would have been great. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And that's when I realized that they actually want to have this disaster known as open borders. Hard to believe, isn't it? But one of the reasons we had so much success at the border was because of the fact that 2 things. We got Mexico to give us free of charge 28,000 soldiers. That helps. And President of Mexico is a great gentleman, by the way. Socialist, but that's okay. He can't have everything. But he's a great man and a great friend of mine. But 28,000 soldiers while we were building the wall. And then when the wall was finished, that's how we set all these records. We have records that nobody can even compete with. Right now, it's a disaster. I believe it's 10 million people coming in, not 3 or 4 million people. They're pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are and where they come from. We have no idea what's happening to our country. We're being poisoned. Within moments of my inauguration, catch and release will be gone forever. Remain in Mexico. Remain in Mexico, which was so important. Everybody came in here, they remained here, and they never left. And you couldn't get them, you couldn't find them. I had a policy, remain in Mexico. And if you think it was easy for me to get the president of Mexico to agree to that, it wasn't. But we got it. And they terminated it, can you believe? So now they come in here and they stay, and we have no idea where they are. They get lost. And it's very dangerous for our country. And again, I'll say, we're going to pay a big price someday for what they're doing. We will begin the process of safely removing the illegal alien criminals that have been unlawfully allowed into our country. We have no choice. We have no choice. And in restoring border security, we will stop the flow of deadly drugs and horrible human trafficking, which both have been set upon us like never before. The human trafficking, you think of it as an ancient thing. It's not ancient. Because of the internet, human trafficking is worse than it's ever been in history. And we stopped them at the southern border, which is the #1 port all over the world, the southern border. So much comes through the southern border. #1 port, and we stopped them, and now it's at levels that are many, many, many times what it was just 2 years ago. Biden and the radical left had let loose on this total breakdown of law and order. It was a total breakdown of law and order. I will restore public safety in American cities and other communities that need our help. And if they don't want our help, we're going to insist that they take our help this time. Because, you know, the Democrat governors, these are all Democrat cities. The governors and mayors are supposed to ask for the help, and they would never ask for the help. And yet people are being shot and killed at random like nobody's ever seen before.
There's been more than one time in which I've been wanting to say something, but I believe that we should hear it all the way through. But that was truly staggering. He's going to, quote, help other states whether they want the help or not. This is from ostensibly a Republican who believes in states' rights. As Andrew, I know you're going to have a lot to say on that, so I'm actually not going to toss it to you because I want to finish this, but I'm going to point that one out. That's code 4. He's going to send, and he's already talked about this, he was going to send police and National Guard to states that specifically requested he didn't do it, and they would be under his mandate. That is, that I would even have to explain to anybody why that is unbelievably dangerous is just shocking. I can't believe he just said that. Let's continue.
And we sent in the National Guard and Minneapolis and in other places. In Seattle, we went and we were getting ready to go, and they took over part of the city. And the governors, the Democrats, don't want to ever ask to do anything because they don't want to shake things up. In the meantime, the cities are rotting, and they are indeed cesspools of blood. So we're going to go and help them even if they don't want the help. We will give our police back their authority, resources, power, legal protection, and we will give them back their respect. They're great people. And I will immediately launch a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle the gangs and clean out the nests of organized street crime. You know, the worst criminals, the worst gangs are MS-13. And under the Barack Hussein Obama administration, they were unable to take them out because their countries where they came from wouldn't take them. And I learned about that in my first day, I actually say. But I learned about it, and I said, which countries? And it was Honduras and Guatemala. It was El Salvador, some others. And I said, how much do we pay them? Sir, you pay them $750 million a year. That's a lot of money. I said, all right, stop payment. We're not paying them anymore because they wouldn't accept them. They would put planes on the runway. So when our plane would come out with these gang members from MS-13, the plane couldn't land because other planes were on the runway. The buses weren't allowed to get through their borders because they had stronger borders than we did by far. They had borders. We don't have borders. They had borders. Other countries that we defend have borders. We defend other countries' borders, but we don't defend our own. But these countries, and I got to know all of the presidents and prime ministers. I got to know them all. And I said, all right, stop payment of the $750 million a year. They won't take them. And you could not get anybody back in because they sent them out. They didn't just come out. They sent them out. They don't want the bad ones. They want to keep their good ones. They don't want the bad ones. These are gang members that will kill, and they like using knives because a knife is more painful than a gun. You've read the stories. MS-13, these are savages. They say, oh, please don't use that name. They're people. No, they're not. These are savages. And so we went along, and I said, stop payment of the $750 million. And I get a call the next morning from the presidents of every country that we're talking about. Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. What's the problem? Is there anything we can do? Yeah, you're not taking your MS-13 gang members back that you sent to us. In the caravans, I love the name, I came up with it. I love the name. The caravans, thousands and thousands of people. And in those caravans, you have some rough people. I said, you're not taking them back.
All right. I don't have my copy of Webster's Thesaurus with me, but the same way in which he turns out, and this is a shock to everybody, he did not invent the phrase "prime the pump." Yes, he said that he came up with that phrase, and if it happens to exist, he didn't know about it. He actually just came up with it independently. I'm reasonably sure he did not come up with the word caravans. Just saying. Thought you should know. Let's continue.
Well, we didn't know that this was a problem, sir. Is there anything we can do? I said, yeah, take them back. We would be glad to take them back, sir. They took them back. I still didn't give them the 750, but that's okay. And by the way, now Biden wants to give them $4 billion. They were happy with $750, and now they want to give them $4 billion. Somebody someday is going to explain that one to me. It actually makes you rage with anger when you hear that. They wanted 750 so badly, and now they're getting $4 billion. We will wage war upon the cartels and stop the fentanyl and deadly drugs from killing 200,000 Americans per year. And I will ask Congress for legislation ensuring that drug dealers and human traffickers, these are terrible, terrible, horrible people who are responsible for death, carnage, and crime all over our country. Every drug dealer during his or her life on average will kill 500 people with the drugs they sell, not to mention the destruction of families. But we're going to be asking everyone who sells drugs, gets caught selling drugs, to receive the death penalty for their heinous acts, because it's the only way. We don't need any more blue ribbon committees. We don't need, I don't like to say this, and I don't even know if the American public is ready for it. And a lot of my people Say, please don't say that, sir. That's not nice. They kill 500 people each on average. And if you don't do this, in China, when I was with President Xi, I said, President, do you have a drug problem? No, 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 we don't. He looked at me like I didn't know what I was doing. He said, no, we don't have a drug. How come you don't have a drug problem? He said, quick trial. What is a quick trial? I sort of knew. What is a quick trial? That's where, if you get caught dealing drugs, you have an immediate and quick trial, and by the end of the day, you're executed. That's a terrible thing. But they have no drug problem. The only drug problem they have is they make the fentanyl that comes into our country, and I had him stopping it. And then when I was gone, nobody ever mentioned it to him again. We were stopping it. That was way down, that number. But they send it in. But they don't have a drug problem. Other countries, like Singapore, has no drug problem. No drug. You ask them, they don't even know what you're talking about when they say drug problem. They don't even know what you're talking about. They have no drug problem. And why should they sell there and risk their lives every time they sell when they can come to the United States and nobody even cares? They can do whatever they want to do and become rich. It's a disgrace. So if you want to get rid of that and also bring down your level of crime, probably 75 or 80%, that's the only answer. No more blue ribbon. I refuse to create them anymore. They were just a joke. It was New York people wanting to be on a committee for publicity reasons. No more blue ribbon committees. That's the only way you're going to solve the problem. And I hope politicians are listening because they should do it quickly. Joe Biden has also proven that he is committed to indoctrinating our children, even using the Department of Justice against parents who object. It's a terrible thing that's happening. It's so sad what's happening. When I'm in the White House, our schools will cease pushing critical race theory as they were. Radical civics and gender insanity. Or if they do that, they will lose all federal funding, but we'll get them to stop. And I will be the president who finally fixes education in America. We were doing great. We were starting to really get it right. We will not let men, as an example, participate in women's sports. Is that okay? No men. No men. My people tell me, sir, that's politically incorrect to say. I said, that's okay, I'll say it anyway, if you don't mind. We've had tremendous problems, and you know, it's very unfair to women, just very, very unfair. We will defend the rights of parents, and we will defend the family as the center of American life. But who would think, standing up here, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that a politician, and I don't like to think of myself as a politician, but I guess that's what I am. I hate that thought. But that a politician would be up saying, we will defend parental rights. Of course you're going to defend it. Who would think that we even have to mention this? Who would think it even should be a subject to be talked about? We have to defend parental rights. Can you believe this? As Commander-in-Chief, I will get Biden's radical left ideology out of our military, and I did. And in the first day, they put it back. They signed an executive order, and they put it back. It was gone. We will abolish every Biden COVID mandate and rehire every patriot who was fired from our military with an apology and full back pay. Thank you. And they deserve an apology, and they deserve full back pay, and they'll get it. And unlike Biden possibly getting us into World War III, which can seriously happen, I will keep America out of foolish and unnecessary foreign wars, just as I did for 4 straight years. We will again have peace through strength. That's all it is. As events overseas have shown, To protect our people from the unthinkable threat of nuclear weapons and hypersonic missiles, the United States must also build a state-of-the-art, next-generation missile defense shield. We need it. The power of these missiles and the power of a word that I refuse to say, nuclear. We have to have it. We need a defense shield. And we have to do it, and we actually have the technology, and we're going to build it. Just as I rebuilt our military, I will get this done. I rebuilt our entire military, which nobody talks about. When I got there, we had jet fighters that were 48 years old. We had bombers that were 60 years old. We had bombers where their grandfathers flew them when they were new. And now the grandchild is flying the bomber, but not anymore. But as I have said before, the gravest threats to our civilization are not from abroad, but from within. None is greater than the weaponization of the justice system, the FBI and the DOJ. We must conduct a top-to-bottom overhaul to clean out the festering rot and corruption of Washington, D.C. Thank you. And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim. Think of it. The FBI offered $1 million to Christopher Steele, who wrote the fake dossier, if he will lie and say that the fake dossier was true. And he refused to do it, so it had to be really fake. And then they hired somebody, 𝐒𝐤𝐬𝐿, for $200,000 a year to focus on Trump and to get Trump and other things, including the raid of a very beautiful house that sits right here. The raid of Mar-a-Lago, think of it. And I say, why didn't you raid Bush's place? Why didn't you raid Clinton? 32,000 emails. Why didn't you raid Clinton's place? Why didn't you do Obama, who took a lot of things with him? We will dismantle the deep state and restore government by the people. To further drain the swamp, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. It's time. It's time. And I will ask for a permanent ban on taxpayer funding of campaigns, a lifetime ban on lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members. No, I see what they make. They leave the White House or they leave Congress and they're paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. No, you have to have a ban. We want a ban on members of Congress getting rich by trading stocks with insider information. And many of our great members agree with that. They actually agree with that. And of course, we will do whatever it takes to bring back honesty, confidence, and trust in our elections. To eliminate cheating, I will immediately demand voter ID, same-day voting, and only paper ballots. Only paper ballots. France just had an election. 36 million people voted. It was all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. No complaints. You had a winner, you had a loser. The loser went home. The winner, he's a friend of mine, nice guy. But he was happy. But there was no complaints. And if there is a complaint, you check it out and you can fix it very easily. You can find out what's going on. No, paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. So simple. And we want all votes counted by election night. They spend all of the money for machines and all of this stuff, and they end up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. By that time, everyone forgot there was even an election. It's horrible. And this doesn't happen. I said it before. It doesn't happen in third world countries. They do better than we do. It's horrible what's happening with our election and election process. And I'll get that job done. That's a very personal job for me. I take that very personally. But this is just the beginning of our national greatness agenda, and that's what we call it, a national greatness agenda, because our country can be greater than it ever was. Our country was great. Our country's not great anymore. Our country's a laughingstock right now. But our country can be greater than it ever was before, by a lot. There will be more, much more to come in the months ahead. There are so many things we can do. Many of them are not even hard to implement. The journey ahead of us will not be easy. Anyone who truly seeks to take on this rigged and corrupt system will be faced with a storm of fire that only a few could understand, right? I happen to have some children in the front row. They understand. In fact, my one boy, stand up, Eric. I think he got more subpoenas than any man in the history of our country. So unfair. Al Capone, you all heard of the great gangster? Al Capone got far less. Billy the Kid got almost none. Jesse James, no. Eric Trump got more subpoenas. He's a PhD in subpoenas. They come from Congress. And I appreciate the job you do and the abuse that you've taken. I really do. And it hasn't been a joyride for our great First Lady either. It hasn't been a joyride. Stand up, honey. I go home and she says, they do love her. I go home and she says, you look angry and upset. I say, just leave me alone. Hasn't been the easiest thing, but she's been a great First Lady and people love her. We will be resisted by the combined forces of the establishment, the media, the special interests, the globalists, the Marxist radicals, the woke corporations, the weaponized power of the federal government, the colossal political machines, the tidal wave of dark money, and the most dangerous domestic censorship system ever created by man or woman, the most dangerous system we've ever had. We will be attacked, we will be slandered, we will be persecuted just as I have been. I mean, I have been, but many people in this room have been. But we will not be intimidated. We will persevere. We will stand tall in the storm. We will march forward into the torrent. And we, in the end, will win. Our country will win. We will win. My fellow Americans, we will join together and reverse this staggering American decline, and it is staggering indeed, and we will again restore the spirit of our nation. And then we must build and raise up a legacy that will stand without equal in the entire history of the world. With your help, we will create communities where our children will grow up safe and strong, and a nation where they will grow up free, prosperous, and well. We will reestablish the principles of hard work and merit and end the scourge of homelessness that is plaguing our beleaguered Democrat-run cities. We will heal our divisions and bring us through incredible success. We will defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will expand the frontiers of human knowledge and extend the horizons of human achievement. And we will plant our beautiful American flag very soon on the surface of Mars, which I got started. But we need everyone involved. We need everyone's help. We need to look out for one another. We need to be friends. And we need every patriot on board. Because this is not just a campaign. This is a quest to save our country. Talking about saving our country. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am asking for your vote. I am asking for your support. And I am asking for your friendship and your prayers on this very incredible but dangerous journey. If our movement remains united and confident, then we will shatter the forces of tyranny and we will unleash the glories of liberty for ourselves and for our children and for generations yet to come. America's golden age is just ahead, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America glorious again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
All right. All right. I'm going to have to find my bearings because I have one or two things to say on that. First and foremost, Donald J. Trump, former president of the United States, 45th president of the United States, has now formally announced his candidacy for the office of president. He will have to run in the Republican primaries, and then if he wins that, he will be facing whoever the Democratic nominee is. Now, I really want to get Xandring in here. There's a number of things I would like to say. I will say one or two things that need to be said very off the bat. I'm not going to fact check everything that he said, and the reason is because, being the most charitable I can be, roughly a third of what he said was true. Probably it's less than that. That's just maximal charity in what we define as true, and quote, he said. So I'm going to go over specifics because I have some issues. I have zero doubt Xandring's got some issues. The other thing is, yeah, okay. There are a few things to talk about. I'm curious about the landing on Mars thing. I assume the Martians are going to pay for it. But all that notwithstanding, the most remarkable thing that he said tonight, I think, believe it or not, and there's a lot of things to pick from, I am going to go with term limits in the Senate, no public funding for campaigns, and no lobbying. I actually agree with at least the limits and the no lobbying. I very, very strongly agree. And I think that one of the worst problems this country has is lobbying of congressmen and the lobbying congressmen can do when they get out of Congress. It's one of our biggest problems, and it's why we have such a hard time making any progress, is because so much money is thrown at the people who make the decisions, and they tend to go with who gives them the most money, especially when they have to earn on average $10,000 a day to make their campaigns. So as much as it's difficult for me to say this, he's absolutely right on those issues. The problem is I haven't seen anybody run for president on those platforms in a very, very long time, at least nobody who thought they had a snowball's chance of winning. And the reason is because you just listed people you're going to have to work with and people who you're going to need their support just to get elected, and you have said you want them to lose money. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to start caring about money very, very soon, a lot more than she has already, especially with all the stuff that she's going through. She is going to start worrying about money, and she is not going to get as much as she could as a senator if she's not getting that money that Trump just said he's going to eliminate. Probably most of them know he's full of shit, but that promise is staggering because it means every senator that has impaled themselves for him is about to have their pockets made a great deal lighter if he gets elected. They're either going to have to sit there and decide he's full of shit, in which case they're supporting somebody that they now have to admit is full of shit, or they're going to have to oppose him. They won't do it publicly, but they'll find... I cannot express how serious that is for a candidacy that he actually just got behind that without any... Newt Gingrich tried that, but he had the contract with America, and he had a whole bunch of people on board before he opened his mouth on it, and he still lost. That's staggering and is a political move. I honestly didn't think he could win anyway. I think that statement just ended the candidacy. I genuinely believe he cannot win, having said what he just said there. All the other bullshit and problems aside that we're about to get into. 3 super chats I need to hit. Really quickly, you guys have been very patient. Ian Davenport, 5 Australian with a super sticker. Keep it up. Thank you, Ian, very much. We appreciate it. Been some long nights around here, so we really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sinister Porpoise. I think that was $2. Trump is the first person to... Trump is the first non-Turing compliant president. Yes, Trump, it seems like, would probably have difficulty passing a Turing test. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for your sense of humor. That's been a long... And I was watching the live chat, and it was... I needed the boost. So, having said that, Zandring, welcome. All right, I cannot hear Zandring. Hold on, that may be on my end. Let's just... there we go. So, I'm sorry. Yes, Zandring, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for welcoming to this torture.
Well, yeah. I said to myself, we do a news show. We can't not cover it. We got to cover it. But I do get to choose who I can inflict this upon. And you were the first person that came to mind.
Yes, thank you for that. I feel so much better
now. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, not really.
No, it was just a regular, and I'm aware we could, there will be some fact checking, I suspect, on this, and a lot of organizations are going to fact check it. So that's not something I'm going to spend a heck of a lot of time on. Having said that, there are some whoppers that I just can't ignore. So you and I think could spend 4 hours on this easily, and I think neither of us want to. It's been a long day, but I really do want to. So let's figure out what really struck you when looking at this.
Obviously, one of the things that really stood out to me, I kind of agree with you with the term limits and stuff. And even though I think that they're probably a good idea, you're shooting yourself in the foot as far as your party. But one of the things that obviously jumps out to me is, talking about how, oh my God, the FBI and, the Department of Justice has all been weaponized, and he's bitching about this. And yet he conveniently, and then brags earlier that he himself weaponized federal agencies against individual citizens in direct contravention of state law. And conveniently doesn't connect those two actions together, complaining about the very thing he himself did. Only what he was complaining about it because it was turned against him.
Yeah.
So that really kind of irritated me. And it's like, yeah, I don't need you sending more federal troops to, arrest private citizens. That's just not a thing that we should be allowing at all. Then there's, obviously the whole election stuff. I'm going to ensure that we get paper ballots, same day voting only, and voter ID requirement. Now, I'm a little ambiguous on voter ID. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad idea. I am not convinced by the argument that it disenfranchises people to vote or suppresses some people to vote. I mean, there's so many things we need ID for. I just don't think I don't find that compelling. But the last time I checked, the federal government does not have the authority to dictate to states how they will hold their elections, which is why all of the states do their elections a little bit differently. So unless he wants to get a constitutional amendment passed, giving Congress the authority to dictate to the state legislatures how they will conduct their elections, I don't know how in the hell he even thinks he's going to accomplish that at all. Well, he won't accomplish that at all. So that's just a talking point. Nothing of any substance, just to get people fired up, I guess. And just shows that he still can't let go of the fact that he lost the election by quite a lot. Oh man, it just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things really stuck out to me. I don't really buy a whole lot of his economic policies. I mean, he's putting way too much blame on Biden. As much as I wish I could blame Biden for all of the crappy economic issues going on, the president actually doesn't have all that much control over the economy. He can sway future opinion of where the economy might go by, like in energy policy, for example, by saying, well, we're not going to give any more leases out. That's going to put a damper on the energy sector in the United States, which can cause prices to go up now because we know there's not going to be future supply, because that takes a lot of time to develop and get to market. So, I think that he's way overpromised things that he can do just to try and hit all of the kind of very right talking points. And it's just, a lot of that was very painful to listen to.
Yes, it was. And I almost found myself shouting at the screen. He's just like, well, I got more votes and, let's remember that. And, I think he was comparing at one point his vote count to DeSantis, who's not running against. And it's sort of like, okay, if the vote counts are important to you, that's fine. But you got less votes when you were voting against Hillary. You lost to Hillary in terms of the popular vote. So, it seems that the size of your vote count only matters under certain circumstances, and usually it's when he's ahead. When it's not, there's an excuse as to why it's not. $5. What is that? CF Beauty, $5. Thank you very much, CF. We really appreciate the super chat. I like that you bring up points that missed in the speech because I was in shock. I was in shock a lot of the time. I almost interrupted it when he said that, and then I said, no, I'll let it go because I try not to interrupt. You're here for the commentary in part because you can see this anywhere, but you're also here to see this. So it's like I try. And it is there's a strong urge to just always interrupt and just comment. And it's like you guys are here to see this, but that was absolutely the most remarkable thing in the speech. Now it wasn't like the thing that I found most repugnant. He literally was suggesting murdering. Quick trials, having a trial in a day, and just And the way he implied it, well, don't worry,
Yeah, I
we'll only
think
do
I
it to the
was-
guilty people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have been muted at the time, but he's like, "Oh, China, they don't have a drug problem," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's just assume for a moment that that's true. I don't believe that it is, but let's just assume for a moment that it's true that they don't have one, and it's for the reasons you just alluded to. Then that means they don't have a drug problem, but they certainly have an execution problem."
I don't, and
Yeah, let's
that
not
gets back
care
to
about the devastation of addiction, and the mounting evidence that addiction is also a mental problem, that people are susceptible to this, and that sometimes they literally can't control it. And it's like, yeah, let's stop treating this like it's a disease, and instead we'll just execute them all. Yeah, that's a great plan.
and
Like, my
possibly,
stepdaughter would be dead with that plan. I mean, it's like, come on.
and by the way, possibly tantamount to genocide, because if you're targeting people who, based on a mental illness, you're essentially trying to eliminate them from the gene pool. Yeah. So I don't want to sit there and say, but also he's utterly full of shit. So it's sort of like, I get blown away by the fact that he can say this stuff. I'm reasonably sure he doesn't believe any of it. He'll take the old college try at some of it, but I don't think he really cares. And I get even more blown away that people really believe that he's going to try, believe that he's sincere, and actually think these are good ideas. So when he proposes genocide, I've reached the point where I'm not as shocked by it as I could be. It is morally repugnant and so on and so forth. So I do want to make that, because somebody's going to hit me up. How could the most shocking part be that when he was talking about the Senate? It was the most shocking part, because the rest is the red meat that I'm expecting him to feed to everybody. That is, tactically, for what he's attempting to do at this point, the worst possible move. He needs those people to help support him when he's trying to defy subpoenas, which, by the way, he was supposed to go in for the subpoena yesterday, and he ignored it. That will be before the Supreme Court not long. Why don't you sit there and say go ahead. I think you should tell the Supreme Court that they need term limits too, and see how your decisions start turning out. The Senate doesn't hold as much power over him as the Supreme Court right now, but the Supreme Court hasn't actually really been in his pocket. They've ruled against him any number of times, and he still needs Mitch McConnell, who, despite criticizing him publicly more and more often, has pulled his ass out of the fire more than once too. And No, you are hitting them in the wallet. That is the one big no-no. You can hit them in the ethics. You can hit them in all sorts of really weird locations. The wallet is not one of them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes some of the weirdest randomness shit that he throws in there too. It makes me wonder if how much was exactly scripted and when he goes off script. I mean, just casually toss in, we'll plant our flag on the surface of Mars in the middle of all of that. It's like, well, what? I mean, and the sad part is he said so much crap, and I'm trying to keep track of all of this stuff, because it's like, okay, yeah, there's problems with this. And then the very next thing he says, okay, there's problems with this.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the 14th thing where you're like, okay, there's problems with this, you realize I really should have invested in a notebook and a pen, and I should have been writing this shit down, because he's just spewing stuff forward. And it's like, I've forgotten half the stuff that he said, other than being, I can't believe you just said that.
I said to myself,
do you
I'll
understand
remember.
how any of this works?
I said to myself, I'll remember, it'll be no problem. And then, so I got out my notebook, I started writing it down, and after I basically ran out of room on one page, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to pick and choose what I'm going to be upset about right now, because I just don't. And again, I mean, the good news is, and I strongly encourage people for this. So a couple of quick things. We're going to be covering this. It's on our Discord. Come join us on the Discord. There will be fact checkers, and we are going to post them, and we are going to discuss it. So that's not a thing for tonight. You're tired, I'm tired, so we're going to hit some of the highlights, and then I think we're going to bail. We had to cover this. This is obviously an extraordinarily huge story. We covered it. Believe me, I'm a stickler for you got to let it get all the way to the end. And I came very close to just cutting it off. And I was just like, I can't do that. We're going to hear the whole thing. And it was worth hearing. And especially because, when he threw out the Senate going after Congress thing, I was just like, oh, every congressman heard that. It's like the ones that weren't watching have heard about it by now. That is going through like fire that he said that. He just lost a lot of friends.
Yeah, keeps talking about draining the swamp and, and it's like, dude, you're part of the swamp now. It's like, how many of your advisors and people in your cabinet are like, I hate to say they're not necessarily in jail, but it's like, oh my God, no. What are you going to do? Just walk in and fire how many umpteen thousands of federal employees that you don't know anything about? It's like,
well, he's not Elon Musk, so, who knows? So cheap shot at Elon. He's just, oh my God, if you saw our show yesterday. So I do want to hit a couple of them. I don't know. It's like, what's really the point? And probably most of our audience is as aware as I am of some of these issues. But I want to make a point, and I think we understand this. A lot of what he said is actually fucking dangerous. And I tend to think that the best way to deal with dangerous ideas is let people say them, not just shut them down. And I actually believe it here, but then you need to sit and talk about them. He said that we were going to have, he mocked the concern and the spending on, for example, global climate change, and said, the scientists all agree that we're going to have, an eighth of an inch rise in 200 years. If they actually said that, I would be the first one out standing with a picket sign saying, fuck climate change, who cares? And when he says 1/8 of an inch, it's like people listening to that believe it and they say, oh, that must be what they're actually saying. No. If you think we're spending too much on climate change, that's fine. That's a valid opinion and we can discuss it. But know what they're saying. In, They're saying 5 feet by 20 by the end of this century. 5 feet by the end of this century. Not 1/8 of an inch in 200 years. Those are two very big, just I think he would say hugely different numbers. And he will not have the discussion on the actual numbers because he knows he will lose. So he makes shit up. No scientist has ever looked at the data and said it's going to be 1/8 of an inch in 200 years. Nobody has said that going back to the 80s when they first started looking at this. I honestly don't mind having the discussion on whether or not we should be treating climate change seriously, and if so, how seriously. Those are important discussions and ones that people of honest, good faith, willing to have, honest interlocutors should be willing to have. But you cannot lie and say a number like that, because the people who don't know believe that number, and then they bail on the climate change issue, and that's fucking dangerous. And he did a lot of that shit. He did a lot of numbers that aren't true and are just dangerous. I think you were going to say something, then I'm going to get into a couple others.
Oh, no, just there's so many different areas that he hit on. It's like he hit such a wide gamut. When you look at, even most presidents don't get but just a couple of their policy procedures really done. And, he just laid out so many things. And it's like, how in the hell do you expect to accomplish even a quarter of what you just said? It's holy crap. That's ridiculous.
So he had also pointed out that America is now embarrassed and humiliated in front of other countries. That is actually just patently absurd. First of all, most people who would like to opine on this don't regularly speak to people from other countries, so they don't fucking know. Why don't you start talking to people from other countries and find out? Most of them thought Trump was a laughingstock, and he's the only president I've ever seen who was directly laughed at the floor of the UN. Just mocked when he said something that was a bald-faced lie, and everybody fucking knew it. I was much more embarrassed when he was our president than not. And, okay, this is all anecdotal, but the people that I spoke to from other countries thought America was a laughing stock after this. So, if he wants to bring up some statistics, but he's just making this shit up. And the reality is, I would bet all the money in my pockets against all the money even in his pockets that most of the people in that audience don't actually talk to that many foreigners and find out what they think of this country. In fact, most of them think that anyone who has any negative opinion of this country should just go fuck off. That's fine, but then don't go around making the claims that, what they thought then matters and what they think now matters. And in both cases, it helps your no. They're making this shit up just whole cloth. He also said that the economy had never been better. I think, as Andrew, you made an excellent point, one I concur with. So that's going to be important to note in a bit. But under Trump, the Dow Jones did in fact go up 56%, which was actually good and impressive because it had stagnated for a little while. But it hadn't stagnated under Obama. Under Obama, it went up 148%. Under Bush, it had gone down 26%, and under Clinton, who, by the way, is the only president in modern history to actually balance the budget. Under Clinton, it went up 229%. Now, how much are the presidents responsible for that? Some, but probably not a whole heck of a lot. They can push it in a direction, and if they're lucky, and if other things work with it, then great. If other things work against them, they're hosed. There's really not a whole heck of a lot they can do. So I would go for you and say every number I just gave is irrelevant, but so are the ones under him. But if we want to just argue Trump's premise that the president sets the economy, well, he got his ass handed to him by Obama, and Biden's actually not doing great, especially when it comes to inflation. But then again, the inflation started under Trump, so... and like I said, I mean, I can sit there and, what was all the, so many claims, I did this, I did that. It's like, no, these things didn't actually happen. And the live chat knows it, so they were all going off on it. I don't think there's, much to say on that. It was not pleasant. It was not pleasant to see that people still clap for it. It was a smaller audience, and he didn't do this in a huge stadium. I want people to remember that. He did not do this in a huge stadium with people saying, hey, let's light that black man on fire. He did not do this in a huge stadium. He doesn't seem greatly diminished because the people around him are shouting the same fucking things. But it was Mike Lindell who had to basically pre-announce this and get everybody in on the time and let them know he's the MyPillow guy. He's a laughing stock to almost everybody. Trump couldn't get anybody better. He's got no legal team. Trump organization is about to get wiped out by the Eastern District of New York, and having looked at that suit, I don't see... She has got him dead to rights on that. She's got him. And there's more that's coming out. We put it in on the Discord. It's growing, and he's about to be in very big trouble with Congress on the January 6th, and all of his congressional allies are suddenly going to be real busy when he starts trying to call and reach them. So it was a shock to see that stuff again. It was a shock to see the people supporting all that usual bullshit. That was a much smaller audience. Not a lot of networks carried it. Rupert Murdoch is about to tell Fox to fact check everything he said and to go after it. Although I will say one thing, and I meant to mention this at the top, and I forgot. So let me do this now. We did discuss at the very beginning Rupert Murdoch saying that he would actually rather vote for a Democrat than support Trump, and he's going to be supporting DeSantis, and he has told Trump that, and it looks like he's going to be actively campaigning against Trump, and that's a huge thing. But the other thing is Facebook has announced in a memo they sent today that there will be no fact-checking of Trump and any of his statements once he has announced his candidacy for presidency. So that would be as of about an hour ago. Nobody on Facebook will be fact-checking anything he says. They put out a statement saying that it is not their job to fact-check or to censor politicians, and they expect the public to be engaged on what the politicians say. Now, Trump is actually not on Facebook, but if somebody quotes him, if somebody quotes any pieces of media that come from Trump, the position by Meta is, as of this moment going forward, they will not fact check any of it. So it's a little, yeah, it is. So I feel your audience, but I also want to remind people how small that audience was there. And considering the number of troubles, I think the likelihood is far greater than not. He won't even be qualified to run for office by the time it comes around. I don't think he could win the Republican nomination. I think he just lost the support of most of the congressmen that were still in his corner. Given that he actually suffered, his candidates suffered some pretty serious losses in this last group of elections, I don't think anyone wants anything to do with him. It's still concerning to see. It's still a little shocking, but I think that's where we stand. Any final thoughts, Xander?
My final thought is, please, oh please, can I wake up back to the sane world where Trump isn't trying to run for re-election again?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, like I said, we're going to be keeping an eye on this on the Discord. And since we did cover the story earlier, there now are conflicting reports on that missile. Poland says they have confirmed it has come from Russia. Biden, for whatever reason, has come out and said it has not. Biden has, on occasion, gone off script and gone off the rails and said things that were a little, but that's what Biden is saying. If he's getting his intelligence from NATO, yeah, he might know better than Poland. But Poland is part of NATO, and I would think they'd know where that missile came from. Having said that, that's worth saying. So we're going to learn a lot more in the coming days. Don't know what it is. Poland still says it's Russian. Russians deny it, which doesn't tell you anything. Tomorrow, let's see. I'm sorry, my brain is still in overdrive. So it's not tomorrow. It is on Thursday. We will have two shows. We will have Professor Christopher Mouty will be on with Brooks to discuss the psychology of politics. Then we will have Commander Lance McMillan on for downtime, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. And then Friday at 1 p.m., we will have Commander Lance McMillan and Operator Starsky on to discuss what's going on in Ukraine. Operator Starsky, for those of you who haven't been here for that, is a member of the... he's actually, if I recall, he's a commander in... he has a unit in Ukraine. However, he was brought back to Kyiv because he is a good communicator, and they wanted him doing another number of activities actually around the capital. So that's where he's been. He has his own channel that covers where his unit is going, what's going on, and what he's seeing. Every now and then he goes to battle sites and covers it. You can see it right from his cam, what he's doing. And we've had him on to discuss everything from the mood in Ukraine, what the people are thinking, to moment, what's going on in the fighting, what Ukraine is trying to accomplish at any given period, and where we think they are going. He has been a spectacular guest, and combined with McMillan, those have been some episodes. So that will be Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Dear Lord, I am really tired. I think I did ask you any final thoughts, and you had said you wanted to wake up from this hellish nightmare, but I wanted to ask you one more time in case you thought of anything else you wanted to say before we close it out.
I can't really say on YouTube what my final thoughts really are.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we get demonetized so often. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Monetization. We opened with the Imperial March, which got us demonetized. I was willing to do it because I knew already would be demonetized. We get demonetized when we cover any number of topics. I knew would probably be playing intro music from Trump, that would get us demonetized, and sure enough, it did. So I was like, I can play the Star Wars music. It's not really going to matter. But we're demonetized more than half of our shows, so the Super Chats are a huge help, and thank you. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you in the Discord tonight and tomorrow, and we will see you day after for these shows. Xandering, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see you. Xandering, thank you so much for joining us. It was good to see you. Xandering, thank you so much for joining us. It was okay. So, I'm busting your balls. All right, thank you so much, and we will see you all on, barring any breaking news, which is going to be a lot more frequent in the next few weeks, I think. We will see you all on Thursday. Thank you.